Hello, everybody. Spot of the Nerd coming at you with kind of I don't know. We're going to talk about obviously the current state of Hollywood, shall we say, very briefly in this episode. But I also wanted to talk about because, of course, this is the week leading up to clearly the greatest comic convention that ever is and was and ever will be. San Diego Comic-Con 2023. You are going to be seeing a lot of photos and videos and everything else in between. And we will, no doubt, be doing a series once I return after the 4 days. We will do what I usually do, which is basically make 4 episodes each day at the con. I encourage you to go back on the channel here and you can actually look at last year's as well as prior years to that. Obviously, we've had great fun, lots of good people, met up with friends, met new people, the whole 9 yards. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. And the obvious question, though, is what does it all mean? And not only does what the hell does it mean, question mark, but what does it mean in relation to Comic-Con? Because at this moment in time, Hollywood is frozen. It is like when your phone freezes, your computer crashes, your car won't start, everything in between. That includes writers, directors, and for the first time in a very long time, this also includes actors and actresses. So you have two sides of the coin here, and I think it's important to really decipher. I mean, number one, does it even matter? Number two, does anybody care? And number three, what does it mean in relation to Comic-Con? So the basics, if you're not familiar with it, obviously everything is unionized in Hollywood, other than the whole pedophile rings that basically run it. Let's be very real with that. We are going to do a future review on probably the hardest movie I have ever watched in my entire life. You no doubt have heard about it if you haven't seen it, but The Sound of Freedom, which is currently in theaters and destroying box office numbers, I guess, in terms of being incredibly successful. It even has taken out huge blockbusters like Indiana Jones. And no, I am not kidding you. This movie has made nearly $100 million on a budget of maybe $17 million. It's incredible. But I will not lie to you. It is an incredibly hard movie to watch. From the first scene to the very end, you're gonna feel it for a while. Let's just say that. So I will do a full review of that film another time, but um the reason I bring it up is Hollywood is nothing but a giant pedophile ring by evil, devil worshipping, horrible people that just should burn in hell because of the horrible acts of pedophilia that takes place. It's disgusting. And especially when you are an elite celebrity with bazillions and bazillions of dollars, um, the shit you can do with that and buy with it is just, in relation to the exploitation of children, is absolutely horrific. And we won't go down that road here. Just future heads up, it's going to be a fun conversation, said no one in that regard. But I would encourage you to go see the film. It is something that will, my God, if that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. It really won't. But beside that, anyway, going back to, what this is all about. And we're gonna encompass, I guess, all of it into the same conversation, my main points, because it really does. Anytime you talk about one point, it really does bounce off of the others. And what I mean by that, first, right out of the gate, is you should not give a fuck about this, to be quite frank. These people are on strike because of, quote, wage issues. They are on strike because that, AI, artificial intelligence, might one day take their jobs, and currently is actually taking their jobs, so on and so forth. And there is the empathetic piece of, yes, there are jobs at stake, there are people's lives in relation to basically paying their bills. I mean, that's just two and two, rocket science, put two and two together. But the reason I say a blatant nobody should give a fuck is because of the payouts. I find it hysterical that the celebrities have joined in on this quote unquote strike. Just to give you reference, I mean, again, this is not public record. You can look this information up. These actors and actresses make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to go on set for maybe 3 to 6 months, shoot a film, and they're done. Then they go and do another one, get paid millions of dollars, blah, 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 blah. Yes, are there different points to go across in relation to the people that make the films? Yeah, I'm sure the working conditions are bad. I've heard things such as working 18-hour days, getting paid the average teacher salary. There's other examples of some creators or some writers, they might only write one episode for a series and they're done. So there's no safety, there's no future safety in terms of, keeping their job. I get all that. But so does the rest of the world. And that is where I think a lot of this is a lot of people are just not giving a crap and shouldn't give a crap, is because look at the rest of the world right now. They can pretend all they want about how we're creating jobs here and we're creating jobs there. No, 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 no. Those jobs were taken away in the first place during COVID. Let's make sure that's very clear. You can't just take away jobs, create, and basically put people back into the same jobs and say you're creating them. No, you're just simply replacing the jobs that you already pulled away. It really isn't rocket science. If I give you 3 oranges and I take one and you have two and I give you back the third, you didn't just magically get another third orange. I gave the original one back to you. It really is that simple. And if you don't understand that, I would encourage you to go look into some economics, because again, what it comes down to is these folks want more money. They want better working conditions, so on and so forth, all through a union. And I'll be honest, I am very down the middle. We don't need to go into it right now. I'm very in the middle with unions. I do support, but I also don't support. I actually worked when I was at the zoo, it was unionized. Were there benefits? Yes. Were there cons? Absolutely. So when you have an entire industry shut down because of it, the result is what we're seeing. And quite frankly, we're not really seeing anything. Movies are still being released in certain countries, in certain situations. Shows and television, movies, etc., technically are still being made, but in the United States, everything is officially at a halt. For example, I mean, just I'm looking over the news sometimes. Deadpool 3, which there has been a lot of leaks online. You can actually see some photos and videos that they are filming. Obviously, that is stopped. Everything is done. Everything is stopped. But what people miss out on, and again, is more backing, I guess, into relation to not give a fuck, is because that when you have actors like Ryan Reynolds, who is Deadpool, and you have actors like Hugh Jackman, who is playing Wolverine, they're still going to get paid. It's in a contract. Now, obviously, I really hope I don't need to explain contracts, but if I do, then again, we'll do it another time. Just go look it up. A contract is a legal document binding certain attributes, payment, etc., to an individual or individuals. And let's face the facts. These two gentlemen alone are going to be making millions of dollars off of these films. So when I hear strike this, strike that, we deserve this, we deserve that. Okay. What about the rest of the world? What about those warehouse folks I hear about at Amazon? And I've heard personal stories of people that have actually worked there where they have to go find a bush to take a shit because they do not have time to take a break. And the only way they can get their job done on time is by finding a quiet little outside space to take a shit in. Or they'll use an empty water bottle to take a piss in. What about those working conditions? How about the children that carve out your lithium so that we can have our iPhones, that we can have our Android devices, and you can have your Teslas? What about the cobalt that they're digging out? I don't really see a lot of protests, I guess, maybe striking in favor of trying to support them and to help them. Do you? I don't hear it. I don't see it. There's nothing even again, when we talk about the Sound of Freedom movie, there's not a lot of talk around. You realize in today's world, there are more slaves than there ever has been in human history. Today, right now, as we speak, as you're listening to this podcast or watching it on the channel. Why does that not matter? But a strike in Hollywood does. It just is one of those now. Clearly, we could talk about this stuff hours upon hours. I mean, let's be real. We could just take this down many, many paths, many, many roads. But to kind of conclude this episode up, to round it out with something optimistic, because Comic-Con to me obviously is very, very optimistic. It's very important to me, makes me happy. But what does it mean for Comic-Con? I mean, let's be honest. Talk about the worst timing, the worst possible timing. It was a week before Comic-Con that this all started to happen, and Comic-Con is apparently where everything is essentially marketed. Movies, television, celebrities, their books, everything, so on and so forth. Future movies, future TV series, sneak peeks, teasers, autographs, signings, photos. Well, guess what? That's all been canceled. I would say probably 95% of it has been canceled for this Comic-Con. So there are a lot of people freaking out right now because their entire persona, their entire idea behind Comic-Con is movies and celebrities and Hall H, which is, of course, where they put all the big main stuff, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, etc. Now, to me personally, I don't really give two shits because, if anything, I think this might actually be one of the first cons in over 10 years where we actually get back to its roots. We get back to what makes Comic-Con Comic-Con. You'll notice I've phrased that very, very straightforward. Comic-Con. This is not movie con. This is not TV con. This is Comic-Con. I am literally old enough to remember. I swear to God, I remember there were days when I used to live in California. You could walk up to Comic-Con in San Diego on day one and get tickets. Now, I swear to God, people, you probably have better odds of winning the lottery than getting tickets. And I am forever grateful to friends that help me out to get tickets because there's no other way to do it. You cannot do it unless you have help. That's another road we can go down another time. But for me, I don't, there's people that will spend half of their cons just standing in line just so that they can go to a 45-minute panel in Hall H that they could simply watch on YouTube later or Rumble. That's the type of shit I do not understand. Just so you can be in the same room of, I don't know, Charlize Theron or whatever her name is, and you breathing the same air. Like, they literally will waste half of their con just to go into one 45-minute. Now, again, as I'm saying that, yes, could it be said, well, that's their choice, that's their dream, that's blah blah blah. Hey, to each his or her own. I want to make it very clear I'm not disrespecting it. I'm simply questioning it. Why you would do that when you're wasting so much time, so much money, just to see 45 minutes of something you could go online and see later, probably from a better angle, somebody who has a better camera. What I'm trying to get at is, for me, and hopefully for the majority of people out there, Comic-Con is a place to get together with your fellow fandoms, with your fellow people, and it's a time to celebrate. It's a time that we can all be together on the same fucking page. I've always said this borderline every single episode here on Spot of Nerd. Borderline, you can go back to some of the very first episodes we ever made. Fiction is the only thing that we can't get pissed or hatred towards now. I mean, sure, yeah, there's ways. It's just the world we live in right now. But the bottom line is, you cannot get mad at somebody because of their fictional beliefs. I've always said Wonder Woman is truly one of the biggest piles of ass in cinematic history. If you want to hate me, go for it. But the bottom line is, it's fiction. It's not real. So I still, regardless of this whole strike situation, regardless of everything going on in Hollywood, I'm still ecstatic. I'm still super excited to go to Comic-Con 2023. It's going to be a blast. The only thing I'm worried about is, with everything that's been canceled, it just means that there's going to be more people on the main floor, which is probably going to mean it's going to be a little bit more crowded. But that just means there's going to be hopefully more people dressed up cosplay. There's more people that we're going to get to know, interview with, and just, I'm going to hopefully be able to give you some great content, better than I've ever given before. And I've had some super duper great success lately with the reviews, with the channel, the podcast, everything in between. And I'm just really excited to see what we can do in the future. I really, really am. And that's why I wanted to kind of bring this up just briefly here, sort of, kind of, as we go into the week of Comic-Con 2023. Because we need to just, the Hollywood stuff, who gives a shit? Honestly, it's probably for the best. Clearly, we've been talking about this for months, if not years now. There is not a lot of good content, regardless of movies or TV right now out there. There is a lot of fucking shit. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. So if anything, this break is damn near a good thing, if you ask me. Because if anything, they're going to weed out the weak ones and hopefully put in the strong ones to give us the content that we've always wanted. Non-woke bullshit. Stick to the original content. It ain't fucking rocket science. Again, we don't need to go there, but just, you can gather what I'm trying to get at. So, to all those folks out there listening and watching Spot of Nerd, huge, huge, huge thanks and huge, huge love to you all. I honestly do this for y'all. I do it for myself just because I really enjoy it, and I hope you will share it. I hope you'll comment. Let me know what your thoughts are about, I mean, honestly, what we're talking about, or something else maybe too. Let me know what you think about the strike. Are you excited about Comic-Con? I mean, do you think anything we're going to get to see with this whole strike situation, or do you think it's going to be a wash? You know, are you getting to go? Because I'll tell you what, if you are, I'd love to know. Get to meet up, so on and so forth. But obviously, would hugely appreciate the subscription that you can. If you can throw that little like down the bottom, all that good stuff. Super duper in the pooper is our phrase. Much appreciated for all of that. And please, please stay tuned because we have so much more awesome coming down the pipeline, especially this week at San Diego Comic-Con 2023. It's gonna be a blast. I can't wait to share it with you. But until then, folks, we will see you guys next time. Later, y'all.